Howdy, folks. Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. We made it to Sunday gaming chat. Holy crap, beard's a mess. How is everybody? Hey there, Bastille. We're going to talk about, hey, Alejandro's here. We're going to talk a little bit about our recap from our, hi, Mistra, the campaign on Friday night. We started back up again, went back on roll 20 this time because COVID has gone batshit insane, of course. And it's a good thing that we did because two of our players have got the old COVID. So it's a good thing that we ended up doing it via roll 20. I gotta fix my chair here. Alejandro says, "Yo, AJ, forgot to message you, but I found you a new Mountain Dew." Well, do tell. No pun intended. Do tell. What Mountain Dew are we talking about here, Alejandro? For context, Alejandro's a friend of mine. We used to work together, and we have a long history of a love for Mountain Dew, for different flavors of Mountain Dew. So we're always on the lookout for each other for different flavors and stuff like that. So it's like lemonade. Well, that sounds good. So the lemonade version flavor of Gatorade was one of the best flavors that Gatorade ever had. And they got rid of it. You can't find it anymore. Lemonade Gatorade was freaking delicious. So was the iced tea Gatorade. But Mr. says probably not good idea. Probably a good idea to not do it in person for a couple months till spring maybe. Yeah, that's what we're thinking. I watch a lot of immunologists and all that stuff on like TikTok and stuff like the actual scientists and stuff, and they're saying that certain parts of the U.S. we're actually seeing the peak of Omicron right now. Other parts hasn't peaked yet, etc. So I kind of monitor that stuff, that way to see. And then there's other variants that are coming out, but so far the other variants that are the one in France and then there's the Deltacron, which is Delta and Omicron combining that they found in Cyprus. The immunologists that I follow and stuff said that there's not enough data to even corroborate that that's a real thing yet. I follow that whole thing pretty closely. So, Mr. says, what was the worst soda in your opinion? For me, it was vanilla Coke. Made me puke when I was in school when it first came out. Let me think. That's a good question. There was, God, I can't remember the name, who made it or whatever. But there was way back in the day, somebody they tried to produce a chocolate soda, and it was not good. I appreciate their efforts because I love chocolate, but it was not, and I can't remember who made it or whatever. But yeah, that if I had to put my finger on it, my wife and I just tried one. I just found it for the first time this past Christmas because I'm on the lookout for my wife. She's a root beer aficionado. My wife's tried just about every root beer, gourmet root beer, craft root beer, whatever. And she has her favorites, but I'm always on the lookout for other ones that she hasn't tried yet. And so I was at a specialty store and I got her some of that stuff for Christmas. And then there was a Christmas soda, it's just called a Christmas soda by some maker back east or whatever. So I got her one of those just to try it. And she waited till Christmas Day to have it on Christmas Day. And it was not her thing. I tried it. It was like, no, not my thing either. It's hard to even describe what it was. It wasn't root beer. It wasn't cola. It was hard to explain, but that one wasn't, in her opinion, wasn't very good either. Now other people might love it, but um, so if I remember, Mistra, if I remember, it was actually a diet chocolate soda, and that's probably part of the reason why it wasn't very good. Um, so I don't know if I've ever seen an actual chocolate soda like not that because that would, like you're saying, that would be whew, that would be sweet. Um, let's see here. Bastille says he doesn't like Sprite. I'm not a big fan of Sprite either, Bastille, and maybe you'll agree with me on this. I grew up with 7 Up. Sprite didn't come out till later, till I was probably a teenager, maybe a little bit after that or whatever. Um, and Sprite was Coca-Cola's answer to 7 Up. Sprite doesn't hold a candle to 7 Up. 7 Up is delicious. Sprite has a weird, funky aftertaste to it or whatever. So, um, hey, Colin, thanks for checking in. Um, I love regular cola, but vanilla cola is not abomination. Colin says he likes vanilla Coke, but they don't get it there often. Yeah, that's an acquired taste. The Now, if there's a place called Bob's Big Boy in California, they were a famous hamburger chain, and there's only one left, I think. And I mean, super famous at probably in the 50s and 60s, and then they died out or whatever. But they would make you handmade sodas. Like they would take Coca-Cola, and if you ordered and you wanted if you said I want a chocolate Coke, they would take a or a Coca-Cola in a glass and put chocolate syrup in it, and it was called a chocolate Coke. Other people would get a cherry Coke with cherry syrup to make a cherry. And then there was also, I can't remember if there was I think there was a vanilla one too. I think there was vanilla syrup too. So you could get those handmade like at Bob's Big Boy. And the for whatever reason, the chocolate Coke that they used to serve at Bob's Big Boy was actually pretty damn good. They didn't overdo it with the chocolates, just a little bit to give it a little bit of that extra chocolate flavor, and it was delicious. Now it could have just been that it went real well with they were known for their big boy, they were called big boy hamburgers. Um, and that and the fries and stuff, it could have just went with that. So, um, let's see here. Bastille says, yes, agree. 7 Up is great. Yeah. See, to me, Sprite never held a candle to 7 Up. Yeah. I don't know why they decided to make it have that funky taste, but it does. Colin says, her mistress says, Colin is crazy. um, he says, I have sophisticated taste. Now, Mistress says cola used to be green in the 1800s. That is true, and because it was created by a pharmacist. It was actually created as a tonic. Coca-Cola was created as a tonic for healing ailments and so forth, and the original had cocaine in it. That's a fact. You can look that up. You can Google that if you want to or whatever. It actually had cocaine in it because cocaine at that time was a legal substance for treating maladies, for treating sickness and stuff. And so this pharmacist mixed cocaine in there as part of the tonic, and it had caffeine, cocaine. It made everybody feel great. So yeah, it was a great tonic, I'm sure. um, Vanilla Coke tastes like you put a melted ice cream inside a Coke with a bunch of syrup. So have you never, Mister? Have you never tried what's called a Coke float? Like they have root beer floats where you pour root beer over vanilla ice cream, or you have it in a glass ice cream and pour the soda in there. They do the same thing with Coca-Cola. They do Coke floats, which are vanilla ice cream, and you pour the Coca-Cola in it. So, and some people love those things. I've never been a fan myself, but um, Bastille, I love lime flavored diet Coke. Um, actually, the what was it? The Coke Zero. Coke Zero is pretty damn good. And which one was it that I got? I think it was the orange Coke Zero that was delicious. The orange flavored one. Um, So that's why they joked if I wanted cocaine when I asked for a Coke and Grease as a kid. Probably. That's got to be one of the prettiest colors right there. That particular shade of green from Baja Blast. Yeah, I don't know if that call that sea spray or whatever. Damn. So now that we've had our symposium, our TED talk about sodas, I didn't see that. I didn't see things starting off that way, but it was kind of a fun conversation. Thanks, guys. So today I'm going to talk just a little bit about conspiracy theory. Baja Blast is just the original Coke. I wouldn't. I would believe it because I am absolutely addicted to this stuff. So yes, if it turned out, I would absolutely believe that. um. So Alejandro left and came back, and he comes back just as she's saying, "That's why they joked if I wanted cocaine." Yeah, it's all about timing, man. So, um, so we're gonna talk a little bit about. I'm not gonna go through a full recap of because I'm gonna do a separate video for that, but we'll go through it a little bit. Uh, so we're using the old school essentials for our new campaign that Jonathan. I shouldn't say it's not a new campaign. It is his continuing campaign that we've just returned to. And he's using the game world that was produced by the same person that produced this stuff, called Dalemwood. It's the world of Dalemwood, and there's actually he told us that there's a PDF which I got to pick up. Dalemwood's Player's Book, that describes the whole game world and all that stuff, and it's kind of like very heavy in the like high fantasy fairies and that kind of stuff. That's the setting. But my character and one other person, I think it was Neil's, we are using the same characters we did from the first first part of his campaign that we already did the first time we played on Roll20. So both of our characters are level 2. Everybody else started new characters at level 1. So I'm playing Eins Goldbach. And when we did this, the funny story about that name is when we started out on Roll20, that was because of the initial lockdown for COVID back in the summer of 2020 or whatever it was, or late summer, fall, whenever it was of 2020. And when we did that, we didn't know how long we were going to be playing on Roll20. We thought it was probably going to just be a short little thing, and then we'd be back at the table. So it was kind of like, well, this will just be a placeholder until we're back at the table or whatever. So when everybody was doing their names, I just thought, well, I remember, in German, you count, eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, that type of thing. And I thought, I'll just name my first character because he mentioned that it might be a pretty deadly campaign. So I was like, well, then I'm just going to name my first character Eins for one. And then if he gets killed and I have to roll another one, that's going to be Zwei for 2 and drei and vier and fünf. And I was just going to keep going 1, 2, 3, 4. And so luckily Eins has stuck around, and I'm having a ball playing Eins Goldbach. And Goldbach was one of the towns in the surrounding area where I was stationed. I was stationed in Aschaffenburg, Germany, but Goldbach was a little town off the side where some friends of ours that lived off base, they lived in Goldbach. So I don't know why that popped in my head. So that's how the name Eins Goldbach came up. But having a lot of fun playing it, and he got us started off on. Alejandro says, oh, wait, characters can die in Dungeons and Dragons? Doesn't that mess up the game? It's all part of the game, Alejandro. Obviously, you've never played some tabletop Dungeons and Dragons, have you? Otherwise, you wouldn't have to ask that question. Yeah, they can. It happens, and you either have to figure out a way to get that character resurrected or raised or whatever by another player if they have the spell, or take them to a town where there's a priest and they can resurrect them or whatever, if you have the money to pay for, because it's an expensive, thing to do. Or the person just rolls up a new character, and it doesn't. The DM works it in. The DM works it in like that character. The fellow players have to say goodbye to that character that passed away, that fell in battle or whatever, and then the DM has to work in how they're going to meet this replacement for if the person rolls a new character, how that's going to go. So that's all part of the game, Alejandro. Um, so anyway, so yeah, that's what we're doing. I'm going to do a separate video about the whole recap, going into detail about it, whatever. But I will say, Alejandro says, I played it twice with Stetson, didn't get very far. Very interesting. Stetson's one of the players in our group, mutual friend of ours. And yeah, I don't know if Alejandro, if that's you're too, I don't think you could sit for 5 hours playing tabletop role playing. Your personality just doesn't seem like it would fit with that. I mean, you're welcome anytime. When we get back at the table, you're welcome to join us here. But your personality is too. You got to be on the move, man. I can't see you sitting for 5 hours playing a game like that. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but anyway. So yeah, I'll do a separate one on that. And I wanted to go over. Oh, by the way, I have the advanced one on the way. It's supposed to get here tomorrow. So this is the classic fantasy. The advanced player's tome is coming tomorrow. So that'll come in really handy. So you got that out of the way. The other thing I wanted to show you guys was, have any of you guys seen, let's see here. Mr. says, you re-roll a new character, it won't mess up the game. It'll just take a while until you're up to snuff. Exactly. Or the other option, Mr. obviously is the resurrection type of thing, whatever, but it's not something that's guaranteed, Have any of you guys seen these? I thought that instead of doing a box set today, I'd show you guys some of these here. This is the old Grimtooth traps. These were third party, by Flying Buffalo put these out. Is a third party gaming aid for, it says here, for use with any role playing system. They made it agnostic so that you could play it with Dungeons and Dragons or whatever. And it's literally a book of traps. It's literally an entire book of 101 traps, and they're rated by the number of skulls, like how lethal they are. From 1 to, I think the highest is 5 skulls is the highest. And so this is obviously for dungeon masters, for DMs, game masters, whatever you want to call them. I think it goes to 5 skulls is the highest. And I think, if I remember, there's only like 1 or 2 5 skull. Yeah, it goes to 5 skull, and there's only like a couple of them in the book because they're how bad they are. But these are famous. So, and these are way back from the 80s. You can get these through DriveThruRPG as a PDF. You can also find these on eBay, the used ones, out of print ones, fairly cheap. So you can get these if you want them, if you're a game master and you're interested. But that's the first one. Then they came out with Traps 2, and they always used funny spellings on the names and stuff like that. So this was Traps 2, and that's another 101. Then they went to Traps 4, and of course they had to spell it differently. And then they went to Traps 8. They went from 4 to 8. They didn't go 5, 6, 7. No, they went straight to 8, ATE. And there's one I don't have, and that's called Traps Lite, LITE. And that one was a book of less lethal traps that were more nuisances and for amusement and stuff like that. Traps that people could put in their campaign that just, mess with their fellow you know, adventurers or whatever, or just nuisances or alarm type traps and stuff like that. And that was called Traps Light. I don't have that one. I didn't realize that till today because I went on and I did my research and wanted to see if I did have them all, and sure enough, I was missing one. So um, I have used I've used this one. I have not used anything out of these other books yet, but as you can see, I've got a couple of little markers here, placeholders, where I have for traps that I have used before in my campaign. If Jonathan or anybody was in here, they could tell you they experienced a couple of those. So traps in Pathfinder though. Yeah, I played Pathfinder, and I'm trying to remember in the campaign that I was in a homebrew campaign, and I don't remember if the DM used a lot of traps. It doesn't spring to mind. I don't remember that being. I don't remember him working that in as a regular mechanic. I don't know if we might have encountered a couple, but it doesn't. If it was memorable, it would jump back. But so now are you talking about Pathfinder the tabletop one, Mister? Or are you talking about Pathfinder the one on the computer game, the first or the second Pathfinder games on the computer? Because I haven't played those, so you could be talking about that too. There was a lot of traps in like the Baldur's Gate series. That was a big mechanic in the Baldur's Gate series that you had to have a thief to basically do scout for traps and stuff like that. They had to because there was a lot of freaking traps in those. Well, again, our DM, that was a completely 100% homebrew campaign that he did. So it could have just been his choice not to have a lot of traps in his stuff. So, yeah. Bastille says, AJ, do you organize your PDFs on the computer? If so, how do you organize them? I have some PDFs. I try to avoid. I like having stuff like this. I am not a big fan of digital content, not just for gaming stuff. I have CDs, DVDs, records, and I've done an actual whole video about my whole thought process about that. With everything going 100% digital and everything, it's like, okay, so let's say this latest Spider-Man movie that came out and has done like $2 billion which I haven't seen yet, by the way. Let's say that you go on and you purchase that digitally through Disney or whatever at some point, and you don't get the actual Blu-ray or whatever. To me, you always have the fear of if they decide that you can't have access to your content anymore, and they do that. They have they have banned digital versions of games, movies, etc. For whatever reason, because it was deemed all of a sudden it was deemed, okay, well, we can't show that now because it's culturally inappropriate or whatever. And then you don't, even though you paid for it digitally, you don't have access to it anymore because it's no longer offered or whatever. And if you have your Blu-rays and so forth, you can always, as long as you have a player, you can always access your stuff. So to answer your question about the PDFs, I have some, but I have so few of them, I don't have to worry about how I organize everything. Now, for my gaming stuff, Bastille, I buy everything. If I do get a PDF of it, I get it through DriveThruRPG. Now, DriveThruRPG, it's just kind of like Steam, where Steam, you have your library of all your stuff. And which leads me to another thing. If Steam goes away one day, I'm going to be screwed out of. I got like 600 games on there or whatever, and all of a sudden I may not be able to access those Now that's I'm rolling the dice on because you really are kind of handcuffed there because a lot of games you can't get on disc anymore. It's all digital now. So there, I don't have a choice. But similar to how Steam does their library, where or GOG, um, a drive-through RPG is the same thing. Once you pay for a PDF, it stays in your library and you can download it as many times as you want. So my basic way of organizing them is I've got them on there, and then if I want to use them, I download them off of there. But I've got so few of them, and the ones I do have, I also it's because I bought the hard copy and the PDF came with it. So uh, I rarely ever have to do that because I always end up getting the hard copy or the print on demand one anyway. So um, Foxbat 945. Hello, Foxbat. Foxbat says, "Oh, Grimtooth. Haven't seen those for a long time." Um, Alejandro says, "Oh man, you're gonna love the new Spider-Man movie. It's well done." Yeah, I just don't go to movie theaters now. So yes, and I may be able to watch it on Disney Plus already. I haven't. I don't think so though. I don't think they've released it there yet. Um, Foxbat says, "I lost a character, one of those dang traps." Yeah, I think we all of us that played back in the '80s at some point or another lost one. Uh, I think if there was any talk of Steam shutting down, it would resort to getting pirate copies of my. I would resort to getting pirate copies of my games. So, Colin, there was actually a long discussion about probably 3-4 years ago about that possibility that obviously it's not anything forecasted or anything like that, but somebody asked because people have such big libraries now that they've invested all this money in, and somebody asked the dialogue, opened the dialogue and said, "Hey, literally, what if you guys went bankrupt one day, or what if you guys sold the company and whoever what conglomerate bought it or whatever decided they were not going to give people access to their games anymore, or just something catastrophic like that?" And the Steam Valve that owns Steam said they have put into place safeguards so that people, and this is how they worded it, no matter what, people will always have access to their games. Even if Steam was to shut down where it was no longer selling games, or uh, the platform itself was changed or different or whatever, they're saying they have a mechanism in place to make sure people will always have access to their games. Now, whether or not that's true, who knows? But that's what they're saying. So there was a long conversation about that. It was a big topic for a while there, for a couple of months, because people were starting to ask questions about digital content. About, well, what if you decide that particular game it gets pulled or whatever? Are you going to say I can't access my game if I own that? I can't access it anymore. And so it was a big thing. Colin says, alternatively, I consider getting a big spare hard drive big enough for the whole library and storing them there, so play offline. Yeah, I've been looking. They've got I think they've got 16 terabyte drives now. I mean, they're expensive, of course, but they're external hard drive. They got I think it goes up to 16 terabytes now. I think, if I remember or maybe 12. I can't remember, but yeah. So that's an option there. The other thing I noticed that they came out with is now they have external solid state drives. So like my solid state drive on my rig down here is not that big. It's only big enough for like your boot drive for your operating system and maybe a couple other things to install on there. But it doesn't have a lot of space at all in there. And once I saw that, I'm like, well, shit, I could get an external, and they're pricey. I could get an external SSD and I could install some games from Steam on there, and I'll get the benefit of quick loading and all that because it's so much faster on an SSD. But again, it is pricey. So, Colin says, I reckon I could get all of my Steam library on a 4 terabyte. Yeah. Depending on, you probably could. So those are cheap. Actually, 4 terabytes not even that expensive now. I think they're only like maybe $100, $150, something like that. So that is an absolute option there. So, so yeah. Anyway, that's kind of a tangent about digital versus having like actual stuff, that you can grab hold of and everything. Um, there was a couple. There was a remember when they Gone with the Wind for a while there. You could not get Gone with the Wind because there was the big um, uh, controversy about them saying that, well, it was glorifying slavery and all this stuff, because that's when the movie takes place, is during that time. Um, and uh, they were actually making it so you couldn't get it, and we already owned it on DVD. Um, I mean, it's one of the most classic movies of all time. Yes, it has a controversial topic, but if we're going to stop making content about controversial topics, that to me that's homogenizing society. Just because it's an uncomfortable topic doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to make content about it. Um, but regardless, um, and then they were talking about for a while they were talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because that came out, that whole Joss Whedon thing came out with about like the allegations of abuse and stuff like that during the filming of Buffy and all that other stuff, and people were saying you got to boycott Buffy, and some places were saying we're not going to sell Buffy anymore and all, and it's like, so who knows? You never know when there's something of that you like that isn't going to be available to be streamed anymore. You won't be able to stream it anymore. So you would think so, Colin. Um, and the majority of people, yes, people are intelligent enough to watch an old film and understand attitudes were different. Yes, but there is always a small portion of people that take it way too far as to say, well, that should be stricken from the earth. You shouldn't even be able to see it anymore, and that type of thing. So you just have to worry about the big corporations if they're willing to stand their ground and say, no, this was made during a different time, and we put a disclaimer. Now, a lot of them you're going to see them putting those disclaimers up front saying this was when this was filmed, when this was made, it was during a different period, thought processes were different, etc. We don't condone what's in here and so forth. So that hopefully that will be enough to appease the people that want to protest everything. So we'll have to see. Um, Bastille says you can download purchased games from Steam onto your computer. I thought you could only install purchased games from Steam onto your computer. So Bastille, you can if you do it the right way, I know there's a way to do it. You can literally, when you download it from Steam, it downloads everything that you need to run the game, even offline, like without Steam. Now, that's my understanding. You may have to do some tweaks and things like that, but I believe you can download it. And now there might be, if it requires the game to be connected to the internet at all times, you may not be able to play it offline. And that was a whole thing with which was it? There was when the Sim City reboot came out, even though it was a single player game, it was requiring complete 100% connectivity to the internet at all times while you were playing it. And there was a big hubbub about that. I actually did a video about that. That was like shit. That was probably 8-9 years ago, and there was a big thing about that because there was no reason that you needed to be on and connected at all times. But EA, of course, was enforcing that. So that would also depend. Let's see here. There's too much pandering to minority whiners. Um, when when you say minority whiners, Colin, I'm assuming you mean that the people that are in the minority that are complaining about that topic. I don't think that the way you wrote that you meant minorities themselves, like marginalized groups and stuff like that. So that's the way I take that. Bastille, you can just copy the files from Steam apps, common folder. Exactly. Yeah. But again, Colin, I think that uh, as long as it doesn't require connectivity at all times, I think then you're good, right? So, um, let's see here. So we're all caught up there. I'm trying to think if there was anything else I needed to talk about. trying to think, gaming wise. There's so much pandering to the minority portion of any group. Yeah, that's what I thought you meant. It's like that the minority portion of people that of any particular group, like say you have gamers, and there's people in the smaller portion of them that are going to complain about any kind of content. Like if there was, there was a whole issue with like adult content and nudity and stuff like that on Steam games, and they went through. If you remember, that uh, there was a period where Steam was like, "Oh, well, we're going to pull a bunch of games because they've got adult content, or we're not going to approve games because they have adult content and so forth." And they did that for a while, and then I think they had a long powwow and they said, "Listen, this is a slippery slope. If we start censoring the which games that we want on here and which ones we don't, because we don't, some people complained about that content and so forth." Um, and then they came up, they finally, their final answer was they said, "Screw it. We're putting everything back up and let the consumer make the decision what they want to purchase and so forth." And then of course they had to put the safeguards in there, like there's for people that have children to do child settings on their Steam accounts so that that stuff doesn't come up. It isn't even, it doesn't even show up on like the recommended or anything like that. So they can't access it. So they had to do that, but they eventually made all the games available again and then let the consumer make the decision, which I'm always I'm always in that boat. Let the consumer decide. Put all the labels and disclaimers and shit you want on something, and please let the consumers decide what they want, what they don't. And the parents will be the ones that will decide to make sure that their kids can't access something they don't want them to, that type of thing. So, um, so I think Steam, in the end, there, I think they came down the right way. They said, we'll put labels on shit, we'll make parental controls, we'll do all that stuff, but then you're going to be able to access whatever content you want, and I think that's the right way to go about it. So, um, because I, having lived in Germany, and I can't speak well. I was in a lot of Europe, but lived in Germany for 3 years, and literally you walk down the street in Germany of most towns or whatever, and if there is a adult store, they will have stuff right in the window, like of their products, visible right there. So anybody walking around, kids included, can see what's in that. And the Germans have a different outlook of like, okay, well, that's part of life, and the kids are going to learn about it one way or the other, and so they have a different. So having lived there and seen how they approach everything, uh, I'm far more that direction than anything about any kind of censorship at all. So, Colin says Steam handled it the right way. Yeah. So, and I think I after they did that, I don't think there was a lot of pushback. If I remember correctly, I expected like, oh, well, there might be some protests about, oh, Steam has got, um, pornographic games on they allow pornographic games on their platform or whatever. And I don't remember there being a big hubbub after the fact. And once I made that decision, so Alejandro says, yeah, same with Finland. So many open erotic shops, naked women walking around. Yeah, that is basically exactly what I saw in Germany. So, and then again, the adults of that particular country, whatever, make the decisions on what they want to see, not see, their kids to see, not see, and I think that's a better way of handling it. So, um, anyway, before I forget, I don't know if I talked about this on the last one, but Book of Boba Fett. If you guys aren't watching Book of Boba Fett, that second episode was fantastic. Um, I'm looking forward to I think it's on Wednesdays it comes out, so I'm looking forward to the next one. And then I think we have the Obi-Wan series coming up too at some point. I'm not sure when that releases, but I'm looking forward to that too. Anybody else got any other topics they want to talk about? Any questions? I think we're all caught up. Star Wars Galaxies, still, it's blowing my mind, the fact that we're, hitting over 1,300 now. 1,300 people concurrently playing that finalizer server. Alejandro says, "Are you going to play Dying Light 2?" I need to do more Let's Plays, Colin. Yeah, I need to go back in and do one for EverQuest 2. I need to do one for Star Wars Galaxies. I've just got to, when I do those, I like to make sure that I'm not going to be interrupted or anything, because I don't do a lot of editing of my videos, because Microsoft screwed up their, unless I get a different program. When they used to have Microsoft Movie Maker, editing was a breeze. It was fantastic for YouTube videos. And then they got rid of it, and they don't support it. And now they've got their new integrated editing software that they have now, and it's terrible. So, I mean, it's literally, I don't know how they managed to fuck that up so bad, but they did. That was why I have the t-shirt that says, "Congratulations, Microsoft. You made another piece of shit." That was why I said that on camera, was because of that goddamn editing software. And of course, I know there's other editing programs out there, but I need to do some research into. I don't mind paying for one, but I don't want to pay for one and then not be happy with it. So, Colin says, "I never really saw the appeal watching someone else play a game, but I find enjoy watching people play games I don't usually play." Yeah, I there's a particular guy, and I can't think of his name, his channel, but he does Let's Play videos, and he's a British guy, because I can tell by the accent. And he does one series. He does Fallout 4 Let's Plays, and I've never been much for watching Let's Plays before either. But his stuff, for some reason, I'll watch his stuff for hours. His stuff is fantastic, the way he narrates it, and he usually does like a different twist on the playthroughs. Like he has one he's doing called "You Only Live Once," and he literally is doing the Let's Play series until that character dies the first time. If the character dies, he's done with that playthrough. And he's on like episode like 40 something. And that includes, he is not allowed to heal himself. He has one health bar. So he's playing this playthrough so carefully, super stealth, ultra stealth, and as careful as he possibly can. And I think the last one I watched, his health bar was like only down, so like I'd say he might have lost like 30% on his original health bar, and he's on like episode like 40 something or whatever. That's how careful he's being. And it's fascinating to watch, because you're like, well, shit, by then I would have died 15 times. My character would have died. It's like, and he's doing it on one playthrough, one health bar, he's not healing himself. He's not allowing anything to heal him. So, yeah, it's been pretty interesting to watch. DaVinci Resolve is pretty good. Search for explaining computers, brief tutorial on it. It's free too. That might be good. So if I can see if I can find it real quick. I have to go to my subscriptions, because I really do want to give that guy a plug. If I can find it real quick, because his stuff is damn good. And if not, I'll put it in. I'll find it later, and I'll put it in the description down below or something. See if I can find it here. Because he has Let's Plays on. Oh, I know where it'll be. If I go to my history, I'll find it that way. Where was it here? Okay. Many a true nerd is the guy. That's the title of his channel. Many a true nerd is the guy I'm talking about. And I'm actually watching a playthrough he's doing of Subnautica right now. And I usually just put it on while I'm like bagging and boarding stuff back here. I'll just have it, in the background there. So I'll just glance over every once in a while. And so check out Many a True Nerd. That guy's fantastic. His Let's Plays are great. So, let's see. Did I miss anything here? I think I got everything. Alejandro, sir, you going to play Dying Light 2? I didn't play the first one. So, and I think I talked about this before because it might have been one of the most anticipated games of 2022, which I talked about. And I looked it up on Steam, I think. And the second one, I'm pretty sure, is going to be on Steam, but I don't know about the first one. Let's go here and see what we get here. By the way, Steam broke some record over Christmas or something like that. They had a day where they broke their record for concurrent users. Old man typing detected. Why can I not spell this goddamn? Porter's in the way here. There we go. Oh, Dying Light and they're both on here, so I could play both of them. Is this a zombie game? First person action survival set in a post-apocalyptic open world overrun by flesh-hungry zombies. See, I see that you can craft weapons, etc. I guess my question would be, does it have base building? Can you build your own like settlement and stuff like that? Because if you can, now that's right up my alley. So we'll have to wait and see. Colin says, love Dying Light. The graphics were superb. The exploration and parkour are fun. Alejandro Let's Plays are great because growing up I wasn't allowed to play some games, so I watch others Let's Plays to watch those in secret. Yeah, I never figured that out, that when you forbid kids from doing a particular thing, that's all they're going to want to do, and they're going to find a way to do it. So forbidding them from it is just kind of pointless. But parents got a parent, I guess. I mean, I'm not a parent, so, play on easiest level. Okay. It doesn't have base building. Okay. But you can parkour. Crafting is pretty light. So see, that type of game there sounds to me like, it sounds very much like a Doom type of game with parkour added, meaning it's a first person shooter with a lot of mobs. It sounds like coming at you probably fairly fast. And so the action is fast paced, first person shooter action with a parkour element. That's what it sounds like to me. So, okay, harder difficulty means more hits to kill. So you got to double, triple tap them, etc., or more. Yeah. Okay. So that would be a game for me where if I had I just want to jump on for say a half an hour or something and just have some fun, just blasting shit. That sounds like that's what that would be. Yeah. So, Colin and Alejandro, did either of you guys play Left 4 Dead, for the Left 4 Dead series from Valve, where that's kind of a co-op, but you could also play it solo, and it would just be computer controlled. Your allies would just be computer controlled. Because that's kind of what that I don't remember there being any parkour in that. That was more just survival, but because Is it similar to that, but maybe better? Like it, because those are dated titles now. They've so. In fact, I played Left 4 Dead 2 all weekend. So yeah, because that's fun to get on and just blast some shit for half an hour, or an hour or whatever. So if Dying Light is like that, yeah, I would probably enjoy it. Yeah, it sounds like got Dying Light's got a couple fans here, Alejandro and Colin. that's that's how I feel about like the original. What was it, Doom 2 or Doom? No, sorry, Doom 3. That game when it came out was absolutely incredible. Um, if either you guys ever played Doom 3, I'm pretty sure that was the one. Um, where you're on actual Mars, the planet of Mars, and you're going through like this space station on Mars. All these demons are coming at you, and yeah, that was fantastic. For the first time in ages, and I discovered a mod lets you play versus against bots. Okay. Yeah, at the time of Colin, when that came out, that was a blast. Well, Alejandro, let me say this: if you never played any Doom, uh, the original one is way too dated. I don't think you'd enjoy it. But Doom 2, Doom 3 for sure. Doom 3, you would enjoy the hell out of it. And Left 4 Dead, yeah, uh, I would get Left 4 Dead 2. There's no reason to really get the first one at this point. Left 4 Dead 2, um, and you can play it solo, or you can leave your game open and other people co-op. You can leave it in co-op, and other people can join in, and they take over. There's like 4 or 5 people on your team, and if you don't, no one joins. It's just you, and then the other ones are operated by the computer. They're just AI, and then if people join in, they take one of those roles on. Um, so yeah, I would recommend Doom 3 or Left 4 Dead, either one. Those are great titles. So, and I don't know, they're probably cheap now because they're older. So, Left 4 Dead 2 has all the maps from the first one in it. Oh, that's good to know. I wasn't aware of that. So really, there's literally no reason to get the first one then. Just get Left 4 Dead 2. Yeah. Um, let's see here. See how much they are right now. Left 4 Dead 2 is $10 on Steam. And Doom 3 is $5. So for $15, you could get 2 awesome games. Yeah. So I would, yeah, for $15, that's a steal, man. That's a lot of fun, bang for your buck, where you're putting out very little cash and you got hours of entertainment there. So I could never get good at verses on Left 4 Dead 2 because I kept getting booted for sucking. Yeah, that's why I never got into like multiplayer like Call of Duty or any of that shit, because my play style is not what all of these teenagers have expectations of anybody playing on their team is, you know? And so, yeah, you just get booted. Um, Counter Strike, it's like Counter Strike, they only want to play on one map now, Dust 2. And uh, if you don't do exactly the way that they're expecting you to play, then they boot you and so forth. So on Counter Strike now, I just play against bots. So yeah, same thing. Even though I was a competitive Counter Strike player with the original Counter Strike, um, but yeah, I don't play anymore with people anymore because yeah, it's a different the whole environment has changed. So, all right, guys. Well, um, this is a pretty good live here. Anybody got any other further questions or anything? Colin says, "I don't have the patience for Counter Strike against people." Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I was in a in a guild, um, that a competitive guild, and we had matches against. We were in a league and the whole bit, and I did that competitively for a while. And man, that was, I mean, I spent hours upon hours practicing and doing all that. And then when it came down to what is the latest iteration called again? Is it condition zero or whatever? Um, whatever the latest one is, the whole everything changed. So yeah, haha, you sound like Hunter says. Yeah, you sound like my dad. He plays first person shooters like he plays how they trained him in the Finnish military. He dies so many times and doesn't get any kills. That's exactly right. I'm an old army guy, so you know you're trained to use cover and concealment, and you're at cover and advancement, and all these types of tactics and all those types of stuff, and it has no place in first person shooter games where it's multiplayer, because that's not how they play the games now. So yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we're coming up on an hour here, guys. Um, it's about time to call this one. So I will be doing a separate video as a recap for the. I'll probably do that tomorrow, um, and then uh, we have Tuesday is beer 30. Get to do a beer 30, and we'll go on from there. Um, any last minute questions or Bastille says, I used to be a good player with bad company too, but can't compete now. Yeah, maybe we're just getting old, Bastille, and we just, we just can't keep up anymore. Who knows? Uh, yeah, that's the thing, Alejandro. If they had to, if there was no respawn, they might play differently, right? Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna call it here. Thanks for everybody checking in. Um, have a good weekend. I hope all your teams, whoever you root for, hope they made the playoffs in the NFL. Unless unless you root for the Patriots or the Bucks, because Tom Brady's on the Bucks. I don't care. I don't I don't want them. They don't need to be going to the playoffs at all. But anything other than that, I hope your teams all made the playoffs and stuff. Because this is the last day of the season right here. So my Raiders play tonight. If they win, they go to the playoffs. So we'll wait. We'll have to wait and see. All right, guys. Until tomorrow, I'll do that other video, that recap. We will catch you guys on the flip side.